good afternoon. I would like to thank Christina, and I would like to welcome you here. And thanks for ICD for this conference and for this opportunity to present our paper and to show our films. As Christina, I know I can't. Okay, I'm a student at public policy program, and as public policy are interested in talking about the issues and the problem encountered in the world. So when I make my research and I study the situation, I see that one of the most issues encountered in the world in our current years or in the last decades are the Syrian crisis, and I'm happy that my presentation after my friend Ahmed Zaid, because your film and my presentation is yes. We as future public policy always interested in the problems around the world. So I see the Syrian crisis is the good topic to make my thesis. And as we know, Syrian crisis started at 2011. It caused of millions of refugees around the world and more than 300,000 victims. The problem in the Syrian crisis is that, as we know, all statistics indicate that the majority of Syrian refugees are students, are children, and as we know, children they have special needs, and one of the basic needs they have education. So my important point today and the idea which I want to spot the light, how can we use the education as a tool in cultural diplomacy? Especially we are talking about two main important things. First of thing, we are talking about refugees. That means these refugees have to integrate in the community. So have to integrate in the culture of the community or of the host community or host countries which host these refugees. The second main point, we are talking about children. And if you want to make integration for these refugees, you have to start from the beginning. You have to start from the children, and you have to start from the education and make the efforts to integrate them through education in the culture of host communities and satisfy their basic needs. The main research question in my thesis, which I can added value in the research, is what is the educational policy towards Syrian refugee in Jordan and Turkey. So I have to make comparative study between Jordan and Turkey. I have to study the current policies which governments follow to offer the education services for refugees. When I studied the policies, I found that more than half of the refugees' children without education, and they don't integrated in the formal education schools. So I will study and analyze these policies and try to notice what is the limitations in these policies which prevent these refugees to integrate in public policy, and we have to formulate a new policy which cover all these limitations and allow these students or these children, refugees, to integrate education in order to integrate in the social life of the host community. So, as we said, my research goals in order to reach suitable education policy, we have to talk about first of all about what is public policy, and as we know, cultural diplomacy is a part of public diplomacy. So we all talk about policies. Policies for culture, policies for integration, policies for social, policies for media. So we have to talk about, first of all, about public policy. Then we have to talk about education public policy in Jordan and Turkey. Then we have to talk about public policy for just refugees in order to integrate this in the public life. The researchers, I have to follow 3 methodology in order to formulate or reach a policy formulation for these children to get their right in educate and at least integrate in the life and in the culture of the host communities. So I have to follow 3 methodology. The first one, descriptive and analytical methodology. I'm depending on many articles. I see my thesis topic is very sensitive, so it related of refugees, it related of children, it related of education, so I have to study and analyze all articles which is about organizations which are interesting in children, refugees, education. So there are many articles, many statistics, and all of it are catastrophic that we are talking about millions of children without education. These children are not just affected on Syria or are just the Middle East. No, they are affecting on all the world, and they are part of our future. They are part of our future, and if they not educate, they will affect bad on our future. So I have to follow descriptive analytical methodology, comparative methodology, because I compare 2 countries, Jordan and Turkey. I have to study the situation in 2 countries. Final, field research methodology, which is in-depth interviews, face-to-face interviews with refugees in Jordan and Turkey. I'm trying to be more specific because we have no time and the film takes too much time. So the research structure, as I said, I have to talk about public policy, education public policy, and then the public policy toward refugees and how we can formulate policy which can integrate all children with education, because as we said, we have millions of Syrian refugees without education, and they are part of the host community's future, and they have to get their right in education. So we have to talk about this in Jordan and in Turkey, and at least compare these 2 policies and try to notice the limitations to formulate a new policy which cover these limitations. These are my references. And at least I would like to thank you. I tried to talk more specific and more fast, but my point is we have a duty toward refugees. We have to try to help them in our studying, in our education, and our certificates. Every one of us have his or her way to help these people. And I'm talking about the right of these refugees to get their education in order to integration in the culture of host communities. That's it. Thank you.